Hi, folks. Welcome to the Big Daddy Tasting Kit from Smashed Grapes. Coming up, you've got the 6 drink along videos for the wines that are in your kit. Enjoy. Here we have the Aloe Tree Shiraz. So this is a Shiraz from the Western Cape in South Africa. Big hitter, this. You talk about Aussie Shiraz quite a lot. South African Shiraz, 14.5.
Yeah,
Big lad.
pretty heavy going, 14.5%. Yeah, it's generally the Australians only that do those big 14.5, even 15%. If you get into regions like Barossa in Australia for those types of Shirazes. South Africa, if you was asked me to generalise, I would say they do them on a lighter scale, but this one is a big hitter. Shiraz is a grape variety, or Syrah, as it's also known, is a Côte de Rhône red grape, so it comes from the Côte de Rhône in the south of France. And South Africa, as a winemaking region, has very much inherited a lot of French traits, and I guess that comes to something to do with colonialism and the French coming down. So they'll have a lot of Bordeaux varieties like Sauvignon and Chenin, and they'll also have a lot of Côte de Rhône varieties like Shiraz or Cinsault and those sorts of types. Comes down from the Côte de Rhône. It's a full-bodied grape variety. It loves the heat in South Africa. We're talking right down on the Western Cape where it's super hot, but you've got those Atlantic winds coming in to cool the grapes down, just to calm them slightly, but you can still make a beast.
I mean, yeah, it is big. It's bolshy, but it is smooth. There's oak you mentioned in here, I think. Oak aging, when it comes to a big red like this, kind of essential, right?
Absolutely. So when you're making a wine that's going to be 14.5%, that's had a lot of sunshine, developed a lot of robustness, and Shiraz can cope with that sunshine because of its thick skins. That's going to develop lots of tannin, that sort of grippy nature, that bitterness. You want to probably get a bit of oak in there to smooth it out, and that's what oak does for red wine. It smooths out the tannins. It takes away that grippy bitterness, makes them a little bit more smooth in nature, or even velvety. And if you take a really good example, Malbec is one of the most thick-skinned grape varieties out there, and so as a grape variety, it should be super tannic, but it's not, because what the Argentinians do, and we all love Argentinian Malbec, is they put it in a mixture of French and American oak, usually for lots and lots of months, to really make it velvety smooth. So that's an extreme example of how oak can turn a beast of a grape into something that's super silky. This only 3 months, so it's not taken a huge amount, but it really rounds it out and makes it easy drinking.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just trying to think about food with this, because I think like something of this size, scale, body, you're probably going to eat with it. You've got to respect the poor if you're just drinking a 14.5 straight as it goes.
Yeah, I don't think you want to have 14.5% necessarily on its own. Yeah, it's going to get pretty heavy going, and there's still tannin there. The oak's done its job; it's smoothed it out, but then there is still tannin there. So you're going to need something to take the edge off of that. For me, Shiraz is synonymous with those sort of smoky, spicy, peppery flavors. If you're in a formal wine exam, which we all are, obviously, on a day-to-day basis. But if you're in a formal wine exam, one of the key sort of giveaways for Shiraz, if you're in a blind tasting, is pepper and spice. And so if you can smell that in the glass, or even barbecue flavors, then Shiraz is a firm guess. So anything around that sort of area, I think, is a good bet.
Right, well, I'll light the fires now. Let's get the smoke going.
Cheers.
Calm your enthusiasm. Here we have the Familia Pacheco Monastrell, and this is from Jumilla in Spain. Before he even opens his mouth, I know this is one of Sam's favourites.
It is. It's one of my favourites of all time. Fantastic winemaker. Familia Pacheco, Elena Pacheco, and her sisters and her mother are in charge. Very female affair, multi-generation female affair. Down in Jumilla, so we're talking just down the road from Benidorm, southern Spain, but on that southeastern coast. Super hot, and they're all about Monastrell. So Eleanor is particularly passionate about showing Monastrell in a variety of different ways, and so she'll grow it in different places, in different soils and different environments around the vineyard to showcase it in different ways. Now, you're probably thinking, what the hell is Monastrell? Monastrell, also known as Mourvedre in France, and it is the third grape, if you like, in Côte de Rhône. So if you go to Côte de Rhône, or you'll pick up a bottle of wine in the supermarket that says Côte de Rhône or Côte de Rhône Village, or if you're picking up a particularly posh Côte de Rhône called Châteauneuf de Pape, then it will be made from Grenache, Shiraz, and Monastrell, or Mourvedre as they call it in France. So yeah, Mourvedre and Monastrell, they're the same grape. In Côte de Rhône, Monastrell or Mourvedre is used for the guts. It's used for the body, the weight. The other two provide the fruit, and it's Mourvedre that provides the weight. And it has a reputation of being a beast of the wine world, that's for sure.
I mean, yeah, I've had this wine a few times. It's up there. This is a big player. This is not for the faint-hearted when it comes to red wines. This is a big boy.
Absolutely. I was lucky enough to go out to the Côte de Rhône once and visit a vineyard there, and we did a bit of blending our own Côte de Rhône. So they gave us a thing of Grenache, and they gave us a thing of Shiraz, and they gave us a thing of Mourvedre, and they said, make up your own blend. Now, just for context, it's against the law to make Côte de Rhône that hasn't got at least 50% Grenache in it. And my blend was 30-30-30. So I did 30% Mourvedre. And the Frenchman there, I forget his name, looked at me like I'd spat in his grandma's eye. It's obscene to consider putting that much. But that's how the French view it. But I would say it's 14.5%. It's a beast. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. But
highly drinkable.
Why
would you not? Why would you not do this?
I think they do an amazing job of taming the beast with this wine, because you could drink it for no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I should be eating with it as well. I think when you're pouring a 14.5, you've got to respect that pour.
Yep.
You've got to, I know the whole eating's cheating thing, but look, this needs to go with food. What am I having with this?
For me, it's dark fruit, it's blackcurrant, it's rich, it's punchy, there's spice there. You're probably looking down the stew route for sure. Stews, casseroles, anything slow cooked. Yeah, it's a beast of a wine. Any beastly food, whether it be slow cooked meat or maybe brisket on the barbecue, that sort of stuff. That's where you're going to match up here.
Tell you what, I'm going to prepare myself, but I'm finishing this bottle.
Cheers.
Here we have the Man Meets Mountain. Now, this is a Malbec from Mendoza in Argentina. Rather handsome looking chap on the bottle. Reminiscent of yours truly, I think.
Oh,
actually.
hello. Beard. Nice bit of beard, actually.
Look, was it William Blake quote on here that great things are done when men and mountains meet.
Oh, hello.
Mountains. Mendoza.
Yep, mountains super important. So Mendoza, huge wine region in the middle of Argentina, synonymous, I guess, with Malbec. Mendoza Malbec, just a staple for most red wine lovers out there. If you love big, full-bodied red wine, I imagine you like Malbec, and I imagine you like it from the Mendoza region of Argentina. And there's no reason why you shouldn't. The mountains are super important. We're discovering more and more now that as you move Malbec up and down the altitude of a mountain, you're going to get different flavors as it gets cooler as you move up the mountains. There's different soil varieties now. And actually Mendoza as a region is getting broken down into smaller regions, like for example the Uco Valley and places like that, who are specializing in different styles of Malbec. So that, what do I mean by different styles? Well, you get the fresher styles, which are more about just the fruit. You get the rich, deep, chocolatey styles, which are all about the oak. And you get stuff in the middle. This guy sort of sits in the middle. It's only had 3 months in French oak. And yeah, it's got the fresh, it's got the fruit, and it's got the richness. It's got that classic Malbec velvety smoothness that we all love.
Yeah, I mean, a 14% for a Malbec, that's not uncommon. It's up there though, isn't it? It's like top end really for where you're going. It's a big boy. It is a big boy.
It is a big boy. Interestingly, it started its life actually not quite so much. It's a Bordeaux grape variety. So we're talking Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Cabernet Franc, but also Malbec used to be sort of the main grape varieties found in Bordeaux red wines, in those Bordeaux blends, which are now super popular and super expensive. Malbec you see less of in those nowadays. But like a lot of those varieties, they came over to the New World back in the day and found a place in South America and grew fantastically. And Argentina?
Hello.
Argentina have taken it under their wing. It's thrived, and now we sort of really only associate it with that country. So it can do well in the cool climate. Be careful though, cool climate Malbec can be a little bit more bitter, a bit more astringent. Over in Argentina, you've got plenty of sunshine, plenty of heat to smooth out that thick skin. It's got a really thick skin Malbec, which creates lots and lots of tannin, but you get some heat on it and some oak, and it really smooths out and becomes nice and velvety.
I already know we're going to struggle to keep this in stock. Like, this is, I mean, Malbec, I think, is one of those things that, because it is super popular, there's a lot of mass market, just, big label Malbec. And I find that if I'm going to spend supermarket money, I won't go for a Malbec. I'd rather spend a little bit more and get a good one. This is a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's Malbec as a great variety, if you want to buy it cheap, be careful, because ultimately it requires a bit of wood in order for it to be drinkable. There is lots of oak-free Malbecs out there. There are some oak-free Malbecs that I've tried that are nice. They're nice, but they require really careful, calculated growing, so that they don't become too overripe and too astringent. And then if they do require oak, that costs money. So be wary of cheap Malbec, because they probably won't have the care and the attention, and they almost certainly won't have the oak. And then what you will have is a face ripper, and not in the nicest sense at all. So Malbec is one of those ones. For me, I don't like to drink mainstream. I like to try new things. But if I am going to, I'll spend money on it. So save your Malbec drinking for special occasions like when you're in a restaurant, Save it for special occasions, not for like if it's their house or a few glasses up. And if you're going to buy it from a supermarket or your favorite online wine merchant, then, pay a little bit more just to get the quality.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, Malbec and food, you said about, picking it on a restaurant menu. Where's its spiritual home when it comes to food then?
So the obvious association, because of Argentina, is steaks, Argentinian food and beef and stuff like that. But actually, it's not like, in terms of tannic nature, because it's so smooth and it's so mellowed, it's not up there with your big Shirazes or your Barolos. And they're more in steak territory. I'd go for leaner meats. I'd go for a nice burger. If you're making some homemade burgers, this is an absolute classic for it.
Right. Get the buns. We're getting our burger on.
Cheers.
Here we have the Famille Morin Cuvée Caroline, red from the Pays d'Oc in France.
That's right, yeah. Cuvée Caroline, a family-owned winemaker that we have been stocking for quite some time. But up till now, we've only ever stocked their one white wine, and their most popular white wine, which is a Picpoul de Pinet. And this is Picpoul de Pinet territory. So if you've tried Picpoul with us before or watched the videos around Picpoul, you'll know it's a region, tiny little region in the Languedoc. It's right on the Tau Basin in the south of France, which is this huge saltwater lagoon that faces the Mediterranean Ocean, but is enclosed, and it's where they do all the oyster farming and mussel farming in the south of France. And so when you think white wine and oyster farming, mussel farming, the coast, it all makes sense. That's why they grow Picpoul there, but they make red wine as well. So it's Caroline Morin. She runs it now. They go back to the 50s, I think it is, the 50s or the 60s. Prior to that, this is a historic winemaking area. I mean, they've got evidence of monks making wine here back to the 1300s. So it's proper, historic, old school winemaking. Now it's family owned, and their red, we've ignored the red, actually, haven't we, for some time, because we love the Picpoul.
The Picpoul's fantastic.
Yeah. And actually, I'm guilty of saying, why would the red be any good? Because this is Picpoul territory. It's great.
And it's a 14 and a half.
Woohoo!
It's a big fella, but whereas like you've always said, like Picpoul, super racy, high acidity, cool style white. This is not cool style red.
No, not at all.
We've also not mentioned grapes.
Oh yeah, so you've got a blend here. It's a blend that there's going to be Merlot, Marsanne, Caladoc, classic Roussillon red grapes in here. And if you think about the landscape here, what we've got is For the pick pool, for that lean white wine, we've got coastal vineyards facing out into the ocean, nice sea breezes, cooling them down, keeping them high in acid. On the other side of those hills and those mountains, facing away from the ocean, you've got proper, rugged, rocky, desolate landscape where these bush vines cling on for their lives, really, really struggling. And that's where you get these red wines from. And that's really important because grapevines that struggle, that the roots have to go deep down into the rock to get moisture, to get soil and that sort of thing, they're the ones that produce great flavour.
Yeah, we've always said that when it comes to wine, the struggle is real.
The struggle is
easy
real.
growing doesn't make good wine.
No.
Look, this is a flavour bomb. There's a lot going on. See, he's just knocked that straight back. There is a lot going on in this. It's a hell of a beast. Like, where do you even begin with this when you think about food? I mean, you need food. You need food with this. This is strong.
For sure. We try to avoid, complex terms or anything too winey in this, but this is a complex wine. There's no doubt about it. There's fruit there for sure, and the fruit is really concentrated. That's the hot weather. It's in jammy territory, but it's not sweet like a nice jammy red wine. So if you like jammy wine, this might not be in your territory because actually it stays quite savoury. It's super herby. It's super spicy. There's lots of weird stuff going on here. And so for me, it has to be a food wine. You can't have it on its own. For me, it's got that sort of like Peking duck hoisin sauce thing going on. It's concentrated and quite sweet, but in a savoury way.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can associate that is like hoisin sauce with duck. Do you know what I mean? It's a sweet sauce, but you'd only have it in a savoury context.
Yeah. You wouldn't be putting it on toast.
No.
No. And this is quite old as well. And when we talk about age and we talk about wine, a lot of the stuff we drink is 1 to 2 years old.
Yep.
We're not in the market of really aged, unless maybe you're going for a Rioja where it's 3 years, whatever. This is a 2018, the one we've got right now, and we're bringing probably 18s and 19s in.
Yep.
That's quite old, really, isn't it?
It is, especially without too much oak as well. So, aging for wine, especially red wines, will bring out different flavours, and that doesn't mean putting it away for 5, 10, 15 or 20 years. However, that does also change things. But when we talk about wine, we talk about primary flavours. So that's the fruit, the fruitiness that this is clearly fruity. You've got dark fruits in there. You talk about secondary flavours. That comes from oak aging or lees aging. This doesn't have any oak aging, but there's probably a little bit of lees aging in there to create a bit of a richness, a dairy feel. And then there's tertiary flavours. And the tertiary flavours are the ones that come in.
Means...
Hello. Tertiary comes in once it's in the bottle and has had years. And what that is, that's the savoury. That's the things when you get the wine snobs talking about tobacco and leather and herbs and mushroom and stuff like that. And we're not too heavy into those types of wines because, if you just want to smash a bottle on a Tuesday night, tertiary flavours is not what you need.
Not enough time.
There's not enough time for the tertiary. But this one delivers really, really heavily on the fruit, and the tertiaries, for me, are really, really nice. It's not weird. I've had wines that have got a bit of age where the tertiary flavours are coming through, and people start talking about farmyard and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh no, I don't. This is a really great example of a red wine that you can pick up, crack open, and it's fruity and it's full-bodied and it's everything we love about heavy red wine. But then you're a bit like, oh, what's that other thing?
Well,
Oh, hello.
And those things they're not flavours that they pick up from things that have gone in the bottle. It's literally just the way the chemicals develop in the bottle.
It's the way the chemicals break down over time, essentially. So the chemicals, the polyphenols will break down over time in the bottle, and will they get better the longer you leave them? No, this is a wine that you still need to drink now. Like, that doesn't mean that you can put this wine that you can put this wine away for 10 years and it's going to get better and better and better. Probably not. You want to drink it now, but it's got a little bit of that experience for you.
They've done the aging their side.
Yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
do it yours. Get this open, get it drunk. And I mean, look, you get the duck, I'll get the hoisin.
Hello.
Let's have a party.
Cheers.
Here we've got the Wild and Wilder, the Opportunist. Now, this is a Shiraz from Langhorne Creek in Australia. Aussie Shiraz.
Aussie Shiraz.
You were in for a biggie.
Absolutely. You know, if we were going to do big red wines, you've got to include an Australian Shiraz. Australian Shiraz, you know, actually, to be honest, hasn't been given a great service by some of the big brand names that come over here to the
Stuff
UK.
with kangaroos on the label.
Absolutely, that sort of thing. Somebody, you know, brand particularly that rhymes with Smarties, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
and Smarefoot. That's another one.
Smarefoot. Yeah. You know, what we're talking about here is a grape that does really, really well in the heat, and creates big red wines. But actually, if you just do that in a really quick way and a particularly non-caring wine, what you get is loads and loads of jammy fruit, but not a lot else going on. But Australian Shiraz is a fantastic thing. Shiraz, or Syrah, as it's known in France and in the Old World, originates from the Côte d'Rône. So the Côte d'Rône being that sort of central region with the Rhone Valley and the Rhone River, just before you get to the Riviera in the south of France and Provence and that sort of area. Syrah is the chief grape there, and you can get some really amazing Syrah and quite expensive stuff from that region. But the Australians have very much inherited it as their own, and it loves the heat. You know, it's got a thick skin, which creates lots of big tannins. Get it out in the heat, it loves it, and it creates big, full-bodied red wines that do really, really well in that climate. But once you get it out into that serious heat, you know, we're talking properly exposed Australian desert heat, it's not just about fruit. It's about smoky, spicy, chocolatey, bitter, all sorts of stuff going on. And if you do it well and you do it slowly, it's just a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a meal in a glass, this. There's a lot going on. And I think a couple of weeks ago, we were drinking an Aussie Shiraz, which was by a well-known shed named Brand, that didn't have any of that typical Shiraz stuff, which Shiraz is known for that peppery, spicy kind of, you know, little kick to it. There's so much going on in here.
Yeah, and chewy.
Yeah,
you can chew on this wine.
That's what I say, meal in the glass. You can
chew on this wine, and that's the difference between a mass-produced conglomerate that are churning out Shiraz in vast quantities. Yes, it's sweet and fruity, but you know, it might as well be Ribena. And then, you know, a quality winemaker like these guys. Incidentally, this is two Scotsmen, two sort of renegade Scotsmen that moved over to Australia and started making wine. You know, yes, it spends time in the sun and does all those sorts of things, but it's all about doing it slowly and carefully. And yet you've got a wine that you can really bite down on.
Yeah. I think this is the definition of a big daddy, you know, very much so. You know, we've had quite a few Shirazes in the past, and we've always talked about meats and, you know, barbecue and all of that kind of peppered steak. And is that where we're going with this one again, or is there anything else going on here?
I mean, yeah, it's probably for me, it's the outside of paying for crazy money Côte d'Rône Shiraz. This is the best.
Our TV went a bit weird there. It's back. The logo's back.
Outside of paying for crazy money Côte d'Rône Syrah, where it gets a bit obscene because you know what the French are like, this is a fantastic example of what Shiraz should be. It's peppery, it's barbecue, it's spicy. You know, and I think this is the sort of wine, it's not cheap. You know, you're paying a bit of a premium for it. This is the sort of thing where you go to your local butchers, you get them to cut you a fucking half-inch, you know, steak straight off of the joint. Couple of those, please. It costs you a little bit more money than you're inclined to spend for steak, but hey, it's a special occasion, and you've got to get the wine to go with it.
Absolutely. Look, let's get down there. Farm shop, here we come.
Cheers.
Okay, so here we have the Bruma de Estrecho de Marin. Now, this is a Monastrell from Jumilla.
That's right.
In Spain. So that's, you know, again, that's Murcia, Alicante kind of region of Spain. And this is Villa Elena and Isio Ramos. This is a project wine.
Absolutely. So Vina Elena, a big favourite winemaker of ours. Elena making fantastic Monastrells, the Pacheco. one of our favorite, certainly one of my favorite wines. She started a project with Istio, and it's all about experimenting with very, very small vineyard plots and planting Monastrell in them, and seeing what the difference is between those plots. You know, so each one has their own unique name like this. They have very, very, very limited amount of bottles per plot, and it's about experimenting with the grape and seeing what the weather does to the flavour.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, obviously, when we talk about Chile or we talk about anywhere that's mountainous, you know, that ability to plant at various stages of the mountains and hills, you know, does where the plot is really make that big a difference? You know, if I have this one and I have one from another plot, is it going to be a different taste?
Is it going to be a different taste? I'm not sure. But is there going to be slight hints of something else? Perhaps so, you know. So, I mean, interestingly, in France, you know, if you go to Burgundy, it's absolutely insane. You could have Pouligny Montrachet that's planted here, that's like £1,000 a bottle, and then you can cross a small dirt track, and this vineyard here is also planting Chardonnay, and it makes a wine that's only £100 a bottle, or £50 a bottle, or £10 a bottle. It's obscene, the amount of difference. Now, the Spanish aren't quite like that, you know, and I think, you know, that's more to do with brand name than it is to do with the actual difference between the soil here and the soil there. But the Spanish are experimenting, and Vina Elena are experimenting with that type of idea. And so, yeah, you know, their wines, none of their wines are super expensive. We're not talking about that sort of territory by any stretch. But what they are experimenting is, you know, if the soil is more drainable, if the soil is more stony, if they get more sunshine in the morning, if they get more sunshine in the evening, that type of stuff. And, you know, this is where we get a bit geeky for me. I love Monastrell, and Vina Elena make fantastic Monastrell. So Monastrell, Mourvedre being the French name, Côte d'Or grape, super, super, super full-bodied, heavy grape variety, where it's been written off as a beast of the wine world. And what Vina Elena is trying to sort of show is that actually if you put it in different environments, it can be different flavours. And I think what this shows from this particular tiny little plot is what, 15%.
I was saying,
15%.
I mean, you're
beast.
saying, oh, you know, it's not just a beast. This is a beast.
Yeah.
But it's got that little bit of beauty in there, isn't it? It's, I am notorious for knocking back an entire bottle, and even at 15, this is easily
It's dangerous.
done.
It's dangerously good.
I dare to. I mean, I'm glad we're filming this in May, where I've got 3 bank holidays, because this is going to take some recovery.
It's dangerously good. Like, we're talking about a premium wine here. This is about as expensive as we get at Smashed Grapes. This is going to be 14.5 quid on the store. It's a special occasion wine. It's super, super niche, a tiny little plot. There's not a lot of bottles of it. But when you try it, 15%, the amount of flavour that's in there, but how easily drunk it is remarkable. And therefore, though we are not big into, you know, if this type of soil will create this and this type of weather will create that, you can't shy away from the genius of the winemaking here.
No, not at all. And you know, the fact it's a project is they're just trying things.
They're
just
experimenting.
seeing. They're not saying, oh yeah, this particular soil is going to give you X, Y, Z. They're just trying a few different things. Yeah, I mean, it's a heavy hit for this. You know, this is the way to close out a big session on the red. This is, I mean, 15%. You need to respect that. It's got to be paired with something solid.
Yeah, for sure. But I just think the genius of the winemaking means it's so drinkable that I'm not going to like say to you, oh, we need to have some steak here, or we need to have some stew, or we need to have some slow cooked beef or anything like that. For me, the excellence of this winemaking, and again, we try to avoid this at Smashed Grapes, you know, we don't want to get too snobby about things, but the excellence of this winemaking, for me, I would actually choose to have this little bit of cheese. A little bit of cheese, a little bit of crackers, nibbling on some great quality cheese. Butler's Blue. Oh, the blue would be perfect for this. A little slab of blue, a cracker, and this, and you're just in heaven, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's get the stilt now. I'll get the crackers. You go get the cheese, because I think we're in for the night here.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching our drink along videos. We hope you enjoyed the wines. Don't forget to come back and spend your £10 voucher on your favourite.